Welcome back to the bench. We have another A1200 motherboard to look at. This, like the previous one I looked at, has a colour issue. The blue is completely missing. Like the other one, tapping it didn't bring the signal back. So the blue is definitely missing. I'll just put a screen capture up that I did earlier showing that. And you can see the picture is completely devoid of any blue colour. So what I did was to look at the signals coming out of the DAC, so the RGB, because the blue's missing also on the composite, and I wanted to capture that on my Rigol. I have a DS1054Z. But yeah, the capture software that they have for the PC is absolutely horrendous. The waveform I was seeing on the scope screen was completely different to what was being represented on the software. So I just took a couple of stills so you can look at these. Obviously, first of all, we got the green signal, and then the red signal, and then the blue signal. So you can see from that the signal coming out for the blue is completely different to the red and green. So on the DAC, those are pins 25, 26, and 27, which are these pins towards the bottom here. I tried reflowing the DAC and also the Lisa just to make sure that it wasn't just a bad connection. And yeah, it's completely devoid of blue color. If you look at the video DAC, you'll see that there are RGB inputs from R0 up to R7, and same for green and blue. They come out of the Lisa chip. What you can do to test to see whether it's maybe a possible fault with the Lisa chip or the DAC is to obviously scope those signals, and coming out of the Lisa they all look fine. Another test you can do is then use a logic pulsar and then go over all the input pins on the DAC for the three colors and have a look at the waveform coming out and if you get any distortion on the picture. For the red and green, there was some distortion on the screen as I injected. As you go from 0 up to 7, the distortion gets stronger. But for the blue, there was no distortion at all. So definitely it is the video DAC that is blown, and yeah, it's quite a common fault on these 1200s that the blue goes. So we have to replace our video DAC. So I have with me a replacement. So we just need to desolder this. I'm going to use hot air. Let me zoom in a little bit.
Let me take a moment to thank the sponsor of this video, PCBWay, my favourite manufacturer of prototype and low-cost PCBs. The quality of their boards is superb. They also offer CNC machining, sheet metal fabrication, 3D printing and injection molding. They can even assemble your boards for you. Sign up today as a new member and get a $5 welcome bonus. There is a link to their website in the video description where you can check out the amazing services they have to offer. Now back to the bench.
Get it in the center screen, but obviously, first of all, we need to just put some polyamide tape around there to hopefully protect the other components from the heat. Namely, I'm not worried about things like the socket there, the video socket and the keyboard socket. I don't want those to get melted, especially the video socket, because they're not exactly easy to get hold of these days. heat those capacitors either. I don't have to. A bit more with a good measure. I mean, I could snip the pins off, but that has its own risks because obviously you're putting tension then on the actual pins themselves, on the pads, so it could cause a problem there. I will put a little bit of flux on here. These have already been reflowed with some new solder, so it should come off relatively easy. Famous last words. Let's see how it goes. And you just want to gently warm up the area just around the chip as well. Get some heat into the actual board itself. I suppose you could use an X-Acto knife and try and cut the pins that way, but again, you are putting stress then on the folder pads. Another option is to use that low temperature solder that's designed for removing chips. So it melts at a very low temperature and it mixes with the old solder and reduces its melting temperature, so that you can get a lot of heat into it and remove it that way. That's probably one of the safer ways of moving chips, especially these obviously quad packs. It's just a case of just having a little bit of patience. Not rushing it, and obviously if you rush it and it's not quite dissolved, or solder's not quite soft everywhere, then obviously you can tear a pad also. It's just not what we want to do, because that means more work in the long run. The thing is just keep going round, and every now and again just give it a little nudge, just a tap. Obviously this board's got a big ground plane in it, so that's going to need to be heated up first. That's going to suck away a lot of your heat. Yeah, and here it comes. It's starting to come now. And obviously it's not loose when you get this backside. It takes a little bit too close there. Yeah. And there we have it. Okay, and yeah, a quick look, focus, and we can see there that we do not appear to have lifted any pads, which is good, because that makes life a lot easier. So I'm just going to let that cool down a little bit at the moment while I prepare my soldering iron. So I've got a just chisel tip on there. Ooh, where are we? Focus, focus. No, it's not going to focus. There we go. Okay, so yeah, it's a reasonable width tip. It's not too narrow. I find that when you're soldering the surface mount packages on, going for a very narrow tip is actually not the best idea, because it can actually make it harder to solder them. We'll give our sponge a bit of juice. Let's turn our iron on. We have our solder wick. So that's our old DAC. Let's take our tape off and fingers crossed nothing melted. Cable connected fine. Yay. It is a little toasty, but it didn't melt, which is always good. Job's a good one. Okay, so now, as Lewis Rossman says, you never have too much flux. Oh, yeah. Let's see if we can get this more central. Yeah. We'll just wait for our iron to heat up. A little bit of solder on our iron just to wet it a little bit. Okay, so now we just need to go with our braid and get that old solder off. Now what you want to do is just put the wick on top and then just press down. You don't want to start moving left to right, because what you can do is you can actually drag the pad off that way, especially with pads this small. So I find that the best method is just to use the dab method and just, make sure you lift the wick up at the same time as the actual iron, because it does cool down very fast, so you don't want it to stick to the pad and then rip it off. Slow and steady wins the day. Okay, I'll put my goggles on and just take a quick look. Yeah, still a little bit of solder on there, so we can go around it with a bit more wick, a bit more flux, just to make sure we get all the old stuff off. So when we put our new chip on, obviously we want it to sit nice and flat. Okay, it's looking good. So now I just want to clean that up with a little bit of IPA, just to get, especially under where the new chip's going to go, get rid of this flux. Just be very gentle here, because obviously if there is a pad that's loose, we don't want to lift it. Don't press down too hard, just gently does it. And we'll give that a few seconds to dry whilst we get our replacement chip. Now there are several different manufacturers of this chip. It's not a custom chip to the Amiga. So yeah, the one I've got here as a replacement is the ADV 101 KP30, and this is an analog devices part. We can see here, I don't know if that will come from camera, focus. Oh, not liking me today. Okay, and this edge here is beveled, and then it's got a little pip right in the middle, which designates pin 1, which goes that way. Okay, that's dry. So what I want to do is get a little bit of solder on one pad up here. And what we'll do is we'll place the chip in where it needs to go, and then we will reflow that and then press it down. And then, yeah, we'll make sure it's all lined up nicely. And then we'll do another one, then double check it. And then once we're happy, we'll go around and do all the pads. Okay, so excuse my head coming in here. So let's see if we can focus in on that. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, all our pins are correctly lined up. So now we just need to go around and solder them. It's a little bit tricky on these type of packages, but yeah, it's just a case of taking your time and yeah, being careful not to get any bridges, and if you do, make sure you clear them first. I think just add a bit of flux, makes things a little bit easier on ourselves. Now that our new ADC is soldered on, and yeah, it's looking pretty good, we can test our board to see if that has fixed our issue. So, RGB cable, and power, and there we have it. We have our purple screen and everything looks good. We've got our disk icon. We can see that there's the blue in the tick and on the disk. So well, this is a successful repair. So this chip, the old ADC, was the problem. And yeah, as soon as we replace that, issue fixed. So yeah, it's a common problem on these boards. So yeah, if you have a 1200 with the missing blue and there's no loose connections, chances are that yeah, it's your ADC that's not ADC, DAC that is gone. So it just needs swapping out. So if you like this video, then give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give me an Australian thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and click on that bell icon to get notified of when I upload new content. As always, thank you for watching.